Hello and welcome back to day 3 of the Launching Made Easy workshop. I am your host, Megan Huber. I'm so excited to dive into our third training session together. Today, we are going to talk about positioning and messaging of your launch event, and also how to keep your participants engaged throughout your entire launch event. Because here is the truth. If people are not consuming your content and consuming you and what you have to offer, then they are probably not going to join your program. So today's topic is really, really important. I'm super stoked for it. Your energy has been amazing so far these last 2 days. I am having a blast. I hope you are having a blast. So if you are having fun, if you are learning a lot, if you are really enjoying your experience here inside of our Facebook group, attending the trainings, if you are loving filling out your workshop, I know that we have some A+ students here who love to have a pen and a worksheet to fill out. If you are loving thinking about the action items and making some of those decisions, if you are loving starting to visualize what the future of your company can look like, what the future of your flagship coaching program can look like, the number of people in your program, the way that you're delivering that program, even some of you can probably visualize team really supporting you in the next 6 months or 12 months or 18 months or 24 months. Some of you, maybe you're starting to really see that big picture vision of the power of having this flagship program with this launch event where you're teaching your signature methodology, your signature framework, so that you are very much elevating in a much more easy, simplistic, but also faster way, really elevating your brand recognition and your brand positioning. Give me some yeses if you are really, really enjoying everything about the experience that you are having here in the Launching Made Easy workshop. I would love to see that in the comments. Welcome back to day 3. I'm just taking a quick peek at my phone because I'm going to pull this up on my phone so I can see names and faces of who is here. Awesome, awesome. I can see you. Hey, Carol. Hey, Paula. Hey, Leah. Hey, Juanita. Awesome. I'm getting some yeses. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Leslie from North Carolina. Hey, Christine. So good to see you. Awesome, awesome. So we are here, day 3. Hey, Lisa. We've got lots of Lisas. Awesome. Hey, hey, cool. I love your enthusiasm. So I've got a couple of questions for you. So, we're heading into day 3. I know you've only experienced 2 days of this. And I really want you to, obviously, you're here learning for yourself. And I also want to invite you to kind of step into the shoes of your own ideal client and the people who are going to be sitting in your audience very soon when you implement your own launch event in your own Facebook group with in your own business. So part of what I want you to do right now is just share in the comments, how do you feel being a participant in this experience? How do you feel? Like, what are those words that you would use to describe the experience that you are having as a participant? And I really want you to tap into what that is for you. And I want you to really feel that and connect to it right now. And you can share in the comments. Maybe it's one word, maybe you have multiple feelings, but type that into the comments and I want you to notice everybody else's comments. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of overlap and similarities here, and we'll check in a minute. I'll look at the comments. And when you express that here in the comments as a participant, I want you to really connect the dots with that is exactly how you want your own ideal clients to feel. That's exactly how you want your own audience to feel when you are sharing your own method, and then ultimately to really go to the next level with you, to link arms with you, because here's what we know to be true. At the free level, it's great, it's amazing, I love it, and it doesn't produce results for people, long-term sustainable transformation and results, right? Like you are a coach or a mentor or a leader, an expert, whatever you choose to call yourself. And you have a way in which you work with clients to help them make progress, get results, achieve those results, and experience real, deep, true, long-lasting, sustainable transformation. It's not going to happen for your ideal client until they decide to really take the next level and actually link arms with you. That's where your program comes into play. That's also where your signature methodology, your signature framework comes into play, because you are not actually what someone's ultimately buying, meaning you are not necessarily the solution. Remember, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, we talked about your framework, your signature methodology. That is really the star of the show. Yes, you are the face of the brand. Yes, you are the face of the company. Yes, you are building know, like, and trust. What really simplifies your business, what really allows you to leverage, and what ultimately and eventually allows you to scale, because if everybody just wants you, then everybody's like, oh, but I just need you and your time. Not scalable. Can't leverage that. But here's what we can leverage, and here's what we can scale, and here's what we can also really build a strong brand around, and that is your signature framework, your signature methodology. I went off on a little tangent there, but my whole purpose for me asking you, how do you feel in this experience on the receiving end? I really want you to connect with what that feeling is, because when you produce your own launch events throughout the year, you want to create a very similar environment and very similar feeling for your own audience that you are experiencing right now. So I want to see what some of that is. Motivating, inspired to up-level what I'm currently doing. Awesome. I would love to know in what way. So you're probably speaking for a lot of people when you say inspired to up-level what I'm currently doing. In what specific way are you inspired to up-level what you're currently doing? What does that look like? What does that mean? Excited to think all this is possible. That is critical. That's so key. Even with what some of you are saying, I'm going to give you some extra little tidbits here. Excited to think that all of this is possible. Here's a side note, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow. When it comes to offering your programs to people, here's what we know about sales. Here's just like a little extra sales tip. If your ideal client, anyone in your audience, doesn't actually believe that what you're showing them, what you're teaching them, the results that you're talking to them about, the process, your framework, if they don't actually see that it's possible, if they do not actually believe that it's possible for them, they can believe that it's possible for you. They can believe that it's possible for others. But the last clincher is you want to help your audience believe and see in their mind that it is actually possible for them. Because we know that we don't say yes. We're all consumers. I'm a consumer as well. We say yes to ourselves. So when we're joining a program, when you're linking arms with a coach in a program, you're not actually saying yes to the coach. You're not actually committing to the coach. You're not saying yes and committing to the program. That is all very personal. That is you saying yes to yourself. It is you saying yes, you committing to yourself. Your clients are doing the same thing when they join your program. But if your client and your audience does not believe what you are showing them is actually possible for them and they can't see it, that's actually where all the objections are coming from. And we're going to talk about sales tomorrow. Tomorrow is our big day about amplifying your sales and scaling your sales. It's one of my most favorite topics to talk about, because if we could do this whole show, but if we can't convert and you can't close the sale, it's all for naught. But that is so critical. So Vicki, I'm really excited that you expressed that for everybody to see. That's really important for you to understand that part of what you're doing here is not just showing up and teaching excellent content and being a great teacher. That is only part of it. Part of it is you really helping your audience imagine and see themselves implementing the process that you're talking about and teaching them, helping them see what the results could be, helping them see that it's actually doable. And I'm not saying that you're promising overnight success and instant gratification. We know that that doesn't exist, but this is a really important point that Vicki brought up. Inspired and energized, full of hope. Juanita, I'm going to point these out because these are so important for you all to really be taking into consideration with your own clients. I wasn't planning on doing this, but we'll go with it. Juanita just used the word hope. That's also part of your job. When you are in the marketing and sales portion of your business, if people don't have hope, so like part of what our job is, there's like 3 roles that we all play, right? So you play all 3 of these roles too. You are teacher, you are coach, and you are leader. And you really want to develop all 3 of those. You get to be all 3 of those with this process. And hope is part of that. So when your audience has hope, they are much more likely to say yes to themselves and link arms with you and join your program, because that everybody knows that the real transformation actually happens inside of the program. We all know that. We're all coaches here. We all provide a service. You are so amazing at your craft. You're amazing at your craft. You do it for a reason. You do it because you want to serve. You do it because you want to help people, and you want to help a lot of people. And you want to have a really strong impact on those lives and the ripple effect of that. Well, part of what we are doing at this level is we are helping people have hope, because, you know, if you've ever looked at that emotional ladder, hope is really where things very much start to change for people. So that is awesome, Juanita. My experience has been committed to growth and visualizing what my coaching practice can look like now. Leah, taking the words right out of my mouth. So that's the other thing too. That is one of the coolest things about this process that I'm teaching you all, that you're learning here, that you're observing, that you're deciding you're going to implement in your own business. Leah is literally giving you gold right now. This is also what I love about groups, because we learn so much from everybody else's experience too. She is already visualizing what her coaching practice can look like now, right? Like that is so key. So this whole experience, I mean, this is so different if we just did like a 60-minute webinar and there were a bunch of slides and I'm reading off of a script, or if we did like pre-recorded videos and a whole bunch of emails. I don't know that you would have had the same experience, and we are just now starting day 3. So that's also the power of this process and how quickly you can really help expand someone's mind into what's actually possible for them. So these are so good. Inspired, Vicki Washburn, cautiously optimistic. That is perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. You should be, and you should be asking a lot of questions. We see hopeful, inspired, I'm eager every day for more. Carol, I'm eager every day for more. That's really key, because again, if people aren't coming back to consume, then that becomes an issue, because you need people to consume so that when you invite them to go to the next level and take the next step with you and link arms with you, they have actually consumed your content. And let's go ahead and dive into today's content, because that's one of the things that we're actually talking about today. So thanks for that. Nice segue here. Today, we're going to talk about positioning your launch in a way that attracts the right clients for your flagship group and keep participants engaged until the end. So go ahead and take out your workbook. We are going to dive in. Today, I feel like today is a pretty easy, it feels like a little bit of a lighter day. So we're probably going to go not as long today. And please keep in mind, if you can come live, I'll send out an email with the link as soon as I'm done here. But because you actually physically registered for this, if you're on the email list for this workshop experience, then we are gifting you a bonus training on Zoom tonight, where my head success coach, Elizabeth, who a lot of you have been interacting with here in the group and in private messenger, she and I are going to do a bonus training on Zoom. So you're going to get to talk to us and interact. We're going to get to see each other. And we're going to talk to you about how to scale your flagship group, which means more people coming in, but it's not taking more of your time. So when we start talking about scaling, that's when we're really talking about your group is getting to a level where it is generating multiple 6 and on into the 7 figures a year just from that one offer. So that's what we mean by scale. And how to do that without sacrificing client experience, client results, and your freedom. And that's actually the topic, because those are the 3 biggest objections I hear from people just like you who want to go bigger. And we have these big dreams and these big numbers in our mind, and we want to impact all these people. But then the objection and what causes people to play smaller and not ever hit those bigger numbers and go to that place in their industry, in their field, is there's this underlying fear that people are going to be mad at me because they don't get the full experience. People are going to be pissed off. What do I do if I make this bold promise and people don't get results? I'm going to sacrifice the high touch, intimate experience, and people have paid for this high touch, intimate experience. And then I want to have a group because I want to have more freedom in my life. And I'm afraid if I have all these people and I have all this stuff and all these responsibilities, I'm right back to like not having freedom in my life. And so subconsciously for a lot of people, and possibly you listening, that could actually be the tape that's playing in your belief system that is preventing you from actually going from wherever you're at right now to really taking that next leap, which is essentially you expanding your leadership and expanding your container to hold space for more people. And that's really, really critical when it comes to leadership and leading larger groups of people. So that is your workshop tonight. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern. An email will come out with that Zoom link. So be on the lookout for it. I'll probably send 2 or 3 email reminders and you'll be able to grab that Zoom link. I'm not going to post it inside of the Facebook group because it's special and exclusive only if you registered for this workshop. So let's dive on into today's content. We're on page 11 of your workbook, and we're going to start out by talking about titles for your launch event. So you know that the title of this one is the Launching Made Easy Workshop. So I'll use that as my example, and we'll kind of deconstruct that. So at the top of your page 11 there, it says what to call your launch event, and there's 6 blanks that you'll see. So what I want you to write in there are just possibilities, and I'm going to tell you what they are, so you're just going to write them in. It's kind of how you're branding it, really. So I call my event a workshop. So sometimes some of you have probably been through other people's challenges. And even what I am doing here, maybe you're thinking, wow, this is really similar to somebody's like 5-day challenge. I'll be really honest. I've never actually done anybody's 5-day challenge. I've never actually signed up for like one of those typical 5-day challenge. And I've never taken a course on it either. I think on like day 5, they do a webinar or something. I'm not really sure. I know they exist, obviously. But that's just like a word at the end. So I choose workshop. So for number 1, just type right in workshop. The next piece we'll get to like, what do I actually call my workshop? So this could be a workshop. You could call it a master class. I actually have another event that I teach. It's called the Group Coaching Mastery Masterclass. So you could call this a masterclass. You could call this a mini series. You could call this a training series. You can call it a challenge. You can call it a boot camp. There's probably lots of other things you could call it. You could call it a mini course. So there's 7. So there's 7 different things, and there are more. You could make other things up. And here's just a couple of, a little bit of guidance on, you're probably thinking, well, what do I call mine? Here's how I decided, and I'll offer the same thing to you. So what I want you to really look at is, number 1, your personality. So what is your unique personality? What's your personality? And I also kind of want you to think about, I don't really teach on archetypes. That's just not really my thing. I'm not known for that. But you can also look at like, what's your archetype? Some of you may even teach on archetypes. Maybe you've taken a program before where the coach taught you archetypes. I kind of fall into the sage archetype. The sage is very much the teacher. So look at your personality. What is your archetype? And what is your brand? Like, what really symbolizes or signifies your brand? So, you know, if you're in the fitness industry or health and wellness, sometimes challenges and boot camps play really well. I was a former high school teacher, and so I love teaching. And I think if you love being on video and you love teaching, by the way, this way to launch is like, you're going to just be amazing at it. Not that you can learn, but like, if you love to teach, like, you should be doing this process to fill your programs. So I am the sage, I'm the teacher. It really goes along with my brand. Bootcamp and challenge just don't go along with my brand, but workshop and masterclass do. So there's no right or wrong in terms of what you call it at the end. Choose something that resonates with you, that really embodies your brand, your archetype, and your personality. That's what I would say there. All right, let's move on to the second bit here. The main launch event title, right? So we're starting from the end and working our way back to the front. So this is called the Launching Made Easy Workshop. All right, so we're getting into the main launch event title. For me, it's Launching Made Easy. I have another one called Group Coaching Mastery that I teach as well. Just to give you two examples. So here are a couple of tips that you want to fill in the blank there with your main launch event title. Number one, keep it simple. So in number one, I want you to write in the word simple. Okay, keep it simple. Number two, you want it to be direct. So keep the title direct. So we've got simple, we have direct. Number three, clear and concise. Number three is clear and concise. So we have simple, direct, clear and concise. And then let's add a fourth, short. Keep it short, a few words. Mine is 4 words total with the word workshop. Launching Made Easy Workshop. Okay, so simple, direct, clear and concise, short. Now, where I see people kind of going astray with their titles is, number one, they're too long and they're like a full phrase. Number two, I see people trying to be really, really clever or cute or cheesy, and titles is not the time to be cute, clever, or cheesy. So everything that you're creating when it comes to messaging, you always want to be very intentional and deliberate about the way your most ideal client is going to perceive it. So whenever you're coming up with a title, think about, how is my ideal client perceiving this? And I always go back and I evaluate my titles. And so I'll come up with some options and I'll go back and I'll read them out loud to myself, but I will do my best to put myself in the shoes of someone who is scrolling through Facebook or on my email list or catches me on a live, who's an ideal client, and they happen to see me talk about this, or they see a banner on my cover page or whatever. They see a graphic and they see Launching Made Easy Workshop. Is my ideal client going to have a pretty decent idea from those 4 words who this workshop is for and what they're going to get from it? So you want to use, again, simple words. Use very simple language, very clear words, very concise words. Be very direct. Because if your ideal client, remember, okay, again, we're all consumers. I'm a consumer. You guys are too. We're all consumers. And there are so many messages from every angle imaginable coming out at every single one of us trying to get our attention. The minute that the brain of your audience has to think too hard about, what does she mean by that? Is this going to benefit me? I wonder what I'm going to get out of that. I'm not so sure if that's what I need right now. Okay, so that was like 5 seconds of me having to think. Okay, well, the brain, as soon as your audience like registers in their mind, I'm going to have to think too hard. I'm going to have to burn calories thinking. I'm going to have to spend too many seconds, too much time thinking about what this means, which means it's going to take me more time to make a decision. So that is the first roadblock I see happening for most people when it comes to your message. And at the marketing level, titles for things, just like a title for a Facebook Live show. So if you are doing Facebook Lives in your business, you know that if you just pick up your phone and press go live and you don't put a title, why would anybody stop the scroll and press play and listen to you for 5 minutes to see what you're going to talk about? Nobody has that kind of time, or they think they don't have that kind of time, right? Again, distractions, priorities, I don't have time. People's biggest excuse on planet Earth is I don't have time. So people's attention. So you are using the title to get the attention of your ideal client. So when you see launching made easy, launching, my audience knows what that word means. That is a little bit of lingo, but that is not so far above your head that you've got no clue what launch means. Like every one of you could sit here and define, what does launch mean to you? You're a coach, you're a service provider, you have a business, you have programs. You know that in order to fill those programs, they've got to be launched in some form or fashion or nobody joins them. You know what launch means. Also, my ideal client sometimes has an aversion to launching. Stress, burnout, confused, chaos, complicated, tired, too much technology, funnels. I don't want to do it. I want to avoid it. I hear all those things all the time. And I think a lot of the examples that we've had in our industry of launching very much lends itself to all those words. That's why I came up with Made Easy, because I want my audience to see this is an easier pathway. You don't have to go the same old traditional way of launching with all the technology, all the degrees of separation between you and your audience, all the complication, the super long cart open periods, my heavens. So when my audience sees that, you're here, you signed up for it. You signed up for it not really knowing much more than like it's launching made easy and you're going to teach me these 3 things and you're here. Okay, so that's the importance of the messaging and the positioning. The other thing that's really key here is the level. We talked about a lot about this yesterday, the level and the quality of the person that you're actually attracting in. That's also, your words are going to attract that level. All right, so the bottom portion of page 11, it's also really similar to what I just said, but it deserves a little bit of airtime here. So you're gonna fill this box in, your daily launch topic titles. Okay, so you have your main launch title. This is what it's called. Mine just so happens to be the name of my signature framework. There's no right or wrong there. I get that question all the time. Do I have to name my launch event the same name as my signature framework? You absolutely can. I do, because I'm really branding the Launching Made Easy system, the Launching Made Easy framework. So it kind of has like a brand of its own. So I personally choose to call my launch event the Launching Made Easy workshop, but that is not a have to at all by any stretch. That is not a have to. You know, you're not going to do it wrong if you don't name your launch event the same name as your proprietary system, your framework, okay? So the other piece that's really important here, and this is, again, you can't just stop at naming your launch event. You've got multiple days that you really need people to be showing up for and consuming your content. And again, every single one of you, you could be so many different places right now. Some of you, because you told me in Messenger or in responses to comments, some of you went and rearranged your whole schedule, which I do tell you to do on page 3 of my workbook and in my reminder emails. Go move your schedule around. If this is a priority and this is something that you are highly looking at saying yes to doing in your own business, and especially if you're thinking about working with us longer term, then you want to do whatever it takes to actually commit and show up to be here, whether it's live or you put time in your calendar for the replay. Now, there's got to be a few things in place for me as a leader to be able to get people to actually move their schedule around. That's not going to happen just because I want people to show up to my launch event. And it's the same thing for you. Again, I want you to really start thinking differently. I want you thinking on a very different level. And it's not just about what's going to work for me. It's about how is my audience perceiving this? What competing factors is my audience, what do they have in place that's competing with their time? I want you to think very less about who else are you competing with in your field and in the marketplace. That's actually easy to overcome. That's the easiest thing ever. I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. But you're competing with people's families. You're competing with errands. You're competing with doctor's appointments. You're competing with the other things that they've got going on in their own business. You're competing with the current schedule they have in their business. You're competing with the sessions they already have booked with their own clients or whoever your audience is. You're competing with time to pick up my kid from school. You're competing with, I've got to take my car in to get serviced. You're competing with, I got to run to the grocery store. You're competing with, I need to clean my house. I could keep going. We all are humans here. We all live life. We got a lot going on. You're competing with my gym time. You're competing with my workout time. You're competing with my lunch hour. I mean, it's 1 o'clock, right? So that's really important for you to be very aware of. You're in competition with all the other things that your ideal client could be doing during that hour. So what's going to make them shuffle their schedule around, reprioritize their priorities, ditch the excuse that they don't have time, and actually show up so they can benefit from your brilliance, so they can benefit from your genius, so that they can be in community, so that you can help them think differently, so that you can inspire them, so that you can show them a better way to get to the promised land. Remember, your ideal client is someone who's already looking for the solution. That's an ideal client. A buyer is already trying to get the solution that you're going to provide them. They've already been trying to get it. They've already been trying to get the result. They're already clear on where it is they desire to go. There could be a little bit of fuzzies, but they know it. They're not like, oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just like your ideal client's not thinking that way. So what's going to cause them to move things around so that they show up and consume? Well, again, they're going to make that decision based on their very quick evaluation of what is she or he going to cover these 5 days. That's where your title comes in. It's just like a sales page. What gets people to actually make the first scroll beyond what shows up on the screen above the fold? It's the first sentence. Whatever your first sentence is on that sales page, that's what gets you to scroll. What makes anybody open an email from you? Your subject line. What gets anybody to read the second sentence in your email? The first sentence in your email. So in terms of getting attention, your titles are what's doing that. So in the box, the first thing I want you to write down with daily launch topic titles, number 1, you need them. Okay? You absolutely need titles every day when you go live. So write down, you need them. You need a title for each of the individual pieces of training you're going to deliver throughout your whole entire launch event. Number 2, I want you to craft your titles to help increase the level of consumption. I know consumption is a big word. You want to craft your titles to increase the level of assumption. Because here's the cool thing about this process. We have welcomed, when I was doing Facebook ads, remember I got shut down 4 times. When we were doing Facebook ads, we were converting a very high percentage of people who literally did not know who I was the day before this launch event started. And they were joining our program by, like day 4. So the biggest part of where you need people to consume, you want people to consume these first 5 days. Tomorrow, this is actually a 9-day process. And tomorrow I'm going to teach you every single thing that, like, how do I actually structure those 9 days? But if you can't get people to consume the first 5 days, then the likelihood of them buying your program, it drastically goes down. So you have to think beyond just showing up and being a great teacher and assuming that people are going to show up. There is quite a bit, and a lot of it you probably can't actually see. And this is why in Momentum, we actually teach you all this and we show you all this. It's one thing to just be a part of it and observe, but there's so many things that you don't actually see that really go on. But a big part of your role as the coach, the leader, and the teacher, when you do this on your process, it's way beyond just showing up to teach. It's your job to get people to show up. It's your job as the leader to get people to engage with you. That's really, really important. So a lot of this is about you really leveling up your leadership so that people are consuming from you and they're making a really good decision to continue their work with you. So increase consumption. People will make a decision to attend in part due to the title of that day's training. So people are looking at the title, and that is one of the things that is helping them decide, do I need that? Do I want that? And do I want that more than the other thing pulling on my shirt to go over here and do this over here, whatever that this is? Okay, so that's like the first thing that people are looking at. Okay, number 3, your audience is looking at each of your daily topics, and the first thing they're thinking in their own mind is, what am I going to get out of that? What am I going to get out of that? Is this going to serve me? So this is where you really getting very intimate with your ideal client is critical as you continue to grow your business to new heights, because look no further than exactly what they're telling you that they want. And that is how you can construct your titles. It's really hard to create titles or content of any kind in a vacuum. And one of the things that you are going to love about this process, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you to implement this process in your own business, because you get to know your audience in such an intimate way. And let me pause here and I want to ask you this question. I asked this question it was last week in Momentum. I think it was our Wednesday call. And there were a number of people on the call, and they were all in the middle of their launches. This was last week or 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I talk a lot about inside of our program is repetition. And that's one of the things we talked a lot about here, because what is causing a lot of coaches to not get to the next level at a more rapid, sustainable pace and really positioning your brand and your reputation, it is, quite frankly, a lack of repetition. And so the question I posed to them, and I'll ask you this, I know why I asked this question, because there were some people on the call and it was their very first launch following this framework, but there were other people on the call and it was their second or third time doing it. And every single time you do it, this is why you want to commit. I've asked you on day 1, will you commit to following this process every other month, which is basically 6 times in the next 12 months. You've got plenty of time this year to launch, right? Like every single one of you can be launching before the end of the year, either in October or November or possibly early December, just depending on your calendar. And so I asked them, and I'll ask you, I want to see your responses. I want you to think about implementing this process 6 times in a year. So you implement it the first time sometime before end of 2020. You implement it 6 times, basically every other month in 2021. And I want you to think about, what will you be able to learn and what will you be able to master? What are you going to learn and master at such a heightened pace, at like rapid speed, because you allow yourself to go like all in, full throttle on this process? It's live with your audience. You're engaging with your audience every single day for a lot of days in a row. You're getting intimate with them. They're completing action items for you. There's a lot of conversation going on in the comments during your lives. There's a lot of conversations happening after the lives. You're getting to communicate with people when they're posting about their action items. One of the things we'll talk about tomorrow is private messaging. Private Messenger is one of my greatest tools. It's one of my greatest tools. It's like the biggest secret of all. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but I want you to wrap your mind around that for a minute. I want you to see yourself repeating this process over and over and over again. Through the power of repetition, what will you be able to master? What is it going to actually show you and teach you, not just about the process, but also about your audience? What are you going to learn really, really fast? Let's see that in the comments. I'm going to see if you say some of the things my client said. Oh, Deb, I have no idea why my ads got shut down, but it was 4 different accounts. So through the power of repetition, implementing this process over and over and over again, what do you think you're going to learn at a really rapid pace? Whether it's about yourself or about the process or marketing or about your audience, like what do you think you're going to learn very, very quickly? And here's the cool thing about that. This is the cool thing about implementing this process over and over and over again. We actually, in our Momentum program, we're doing this soon, in October. Once a month, this is something new we just started doing. We have a debrief call. So we have a launch debrief call that we're going to be doing once a month with my team. And anybody who has completed a launch in that previous 4 weeks, they get to come to that call and we do a whole launch debrief. So what really helps you collapse the timeline is doing this every other month, because every single time you do it, you're learning at warp speed, and then you get to make the adjustments and you get to adapt and you get to make improvements very, very quickly, and you go back out there and you do it again and you get better at it, and then you get better at it and you get better at it. And that's really where you see your results go from this to all of a sudden they go like that. Okay. So what are you concerned? You're going to learn their language, Vicki. Yes. So you're literally going to learn exactly what words to use with your ideal client that resonates with them, that's most relevant to them, because also having that relevant messaging, that's what helps people say yes to joining your program. Refinement and getting to the next layer of transformation, incredibly effective. What they need help with, what really works and what doesn't work with your clients, what they're looking for. Awesome. These are great. Learn that it becomes a habit through repetition, and it's then automatic. Time isn't spent on the landing of the launch rather than the how to and getting through it. Yes. Refinement and getting to the next layer of transformation incredibly effectively. I mean, the other one too, you learn, like, it is in your face what your audience's objections are. Most people, when it comes to sales, they have no clue how to overcome the objections because they're so unclear about what their audience's real objections are. There are ways that you figure out what your audience's objections are when you follow this process, so that you're not constantly feeling like you're the blind leading the blind and you're just guessing and assuming why people aren't saying yes to you. So this process and the power of really committing to the repetition of it and mastering this process with the right guidance, oh, your business is just going to flourish. It's going to be incredible. All right, let's get back to daily launch topic titles. The 4th thing I want you to write down is use words that a high level, high quality client is using. So that comes with your messaging, your language, the word choices that you're using in your titles. Those are really important. So you want to use the language that is resonating with a higher level client. This is, again, this is something we are literally talking about last night and today in Momentum. And I recently brought on, she teaches in there every single week. You'll get to meet her Friday when we do the team happy hour at 4 o'clock on Friday. She teaches copywriting, messaging, and she's also a relaunch strategist inside of our Momentum program. And one of the things that we have spent the last 4 weeks on is messaging and using the words that a higher level client is using. Because if we are using words like, okay, if your message was like, come work with me and I'm going to help you get clients so that you can get out of being broke. So come work with me. I'm going to help you get clients so that you can get out of being and feeling broke all the time so that you can pay your bills. I'm going to help you get clients so that you can pay your bills. Okay, what kind of person is that going to attract? Come work with me. I'm going to help you get clients so you can pay your bills. Now, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that person, but if we're using those words, guess who it's going to attract? That is going to attract somebody who can't pay their bills. Someone who can't pay their bills is freaking out about money. That is not someone who's going to invest in your coaching program. So we might be saying, your craft might be amazing. You might be excellent at what you do, and I believe that you are. You might have the ability and the skill level to completely transform people's lives, and I believe that you do, or you wouldn't have a business and you wouldn't be here. It's our messaging that is attracting people who are either victim mentality, or they constantly say that they want to be further along than they are, but they're not willing to invest to actually get there. You will always hear the excuse, I can't afford it, I don't have the money. And we hear that oftentimes because our messaging is attracting that. So like I said yesterday, I really want you thinking a couple of levels up from where you're actually thinking in terms of who you're talking to, so that you start really attracting that high quality, high level, high paying client into your flagship offer. Next thing in this section, titles should build curiosity. You want your titles to build curiosity, because that's what's going to get somebody to come back the next day. Especially, it's going to get the people to come back who are not attending live. When you're attending live, you're getting like the full-blown experience. And you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing. I've got to come back tomorrow. So the titles probably aren't as important to you if you're someone who's already been consuming every single day. But to someone who missed Monday and someone who missed Tuesday and hasn't caught the replay, they're not just going to come jump in and press play. They're going to go look at your emails. They're going to go look to see what the title was for that class. They're possibly going to go look at the workbook to see what the title was, because they have other competing things with their time. And that's how that person's going to make that decision. And again, your job as the leader is to get as many people to consume as possible. And your titles is one of the ways to do that. The last thing I want to share with you about daily launch topic titles in terms of how you are constructing them is this. The title is very much directed toward the result that your most ideal client desires. So you want to word your titles in a way that it is basically articulating the same or very similar, exactly what your ideal client says they want, the way that they say it. Again, this is one of the biggest things that I see getting in the way of coaches growing their programs to the next level. And that is, they say what they think people want to hear, but they're missing the mark on using the words that their ideal client is actually thinking in the ideal client's mind. That's really, really important. Well, how do we figure that out is the question. All you have to do is talk to them. That's all you have to do. And again, this process is only one of the ways, but man, if it doesn't put you on it's like being on steroids of figuring out the language of your most ideal client through this process. So not only are you using this process to increase your brand recognition, increase your reputation, increase your brand positioning, to scale the sales of your flagship group, to really put yourself in a league of your own in your field, in your space, to impact more people, to have more freedom in your business, to make more money, to be able to grow at what you've always seen yourself growing. The being able to do this process and really learn about your ideal client and learn about them on a very intimate level is so critical for the growth of your business long-term. All right, last thing today, and we are gonna move on. Last thing for today, I want to give you some ideas on how you can keep participants engaged. So how do you actually keep them engaged throughout this whole entire process? And the biggest part you want to keep them engaged with is the first 5 days. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to show you what you do for the other rest of the day. So this is actually going to end up being 9 days all the way through next Tuesday. And there's bonus content. There's a whole lot of strategy with that when it comes to filling your programs. So you're going to absolutely love tomorrow, because we're going to break down how do I figure out what I'm doing each day for the 9 days. And I'll tell you why it's 9 days. In fact, I even have a lot of clients who try to like get out of doing the 9 days and their launches are never as effective. So there's a whole rhyme and reason to it. There's a whole strategy behind it, and tactics don't work if you don't know the strategy. And that is the thing. That's what so many people who try to do this on their own, when we try to do things on our own, just because we watch people, you are actually only figuring out what tactics they're using. You don't know what their mindset is. You don't know what their strategy is. And strategy and mindset are the two things that actually make the tactics work. So when we try to go do this all on our own, and we're just watching what people are doing, and we're thinking the level that most people are thinking is tactical. They're thinking tactics. And then they get angry, and then they beat themselves up because they don't know why it's not working. They don't know why it's not working at a greater level, at a higher level, at a more rapid pace. Why are they not elevating faster up the, financial ladder or whatever? It's because the mindset and the strategy is missing. And that's what you get from the mentorship. So how do you keep participants engaged? Number one, I want you to, I think I said this yesterday, the day before, all the sales. Okay, I think I'm here. That was weird. Somebody give me a yes. Are we back? Can you hear me? Can you see me? It looks like I'm back. Oh yeah, okay. I think we are. Okay, so all the sales are not made during your actual launch. There is quite a bit of time and attention that goes into the weeks leading up to your launch, which we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Yes, you're back. But that is one of the ways that you keep people engaged. So you can't just show up and rock it out starting on day one, because there is a lead up to your actual launch event where you are building a relationship, where you are building energy, you are building excitement, you are getting intimate with people in the private messenger, you are talking about certain topics so that people come, you're reminding people to show up. So you really want to have this few weeks leading up to your launch where it is all about you leading people to actually show up and consume your content and be part of the event. So that's the first thing that I want you to write down in terms of keeping people engaged. It is the lead up to the actual launch. One of the things that people really learn from working with me that they didn't really realize, I see people get really pissed off when their audience isn't engaging back with them. And here's the truth, and this is tough to hear. It is not your audience, it's not your audience's job to engage. It is your job as the leader to get your audience to engage with you. And all that is a perspective shift. You just have to flip that switch in your mind. And when you show up every day, knowing that it's your job, it's my job to get you to engage. It's your job to get your audience to engage with you. That is leadership. So the lead up to the launch, that's going to help a lot. Number two, you've seen this, it's the emails. So that's why we have you register for this officially, because now you're on an email list and you got emails leading up to this, reminding you, And you're also getting daily reminder emails and replay emails each day. So that is definitely going to help people consume more and show up. If you're on our chatbot list, you're also getting daily reminders with that. Number 3, this is one of my favorite things to teach because almost nobody is doing this. And I love teaching my clients how to do this. There's an art and a science to this. It is a private messaging sequence and this kind of like private messaging, what word do I want to use? It's more than a sequence. It's a strategy, honestly. It's using private messenger. You all have been receiving private messages, whether it's from me or it's from your success coach, Elizabeth. As many of you as we could like figure out who's who in Facebook from the list of people who registered for this. A lot of you got messages from me like before this started, letting you know I was excited for you to come to this. If I could figure out who you were on Facebook when looking at your email address, sometimes that's hard to do. But there's this whole private messaging sequence that you're deploying before, during, and even after and between your launches that helps the engagement and the consumption of your actual event. The private messenger is where a lot of the magic happens. Number 4, some of you are ready for this. Some of you will be ready for this at a later date, but it is having a team member. We have, like, Joshua is here supporting you all with the workbooks and logistics. Elizabeth is here as your personal success coach. Before that, it was me. And I was the one doing all of it. And until you have a team member to do that, it will be you. I did a lot of it solo myself as well in the early days of doing this process. But eventually you can have a team member who you are training to be the person who's doing a lot of the engagement, which is what Elizabeth is doing. You know, she's even tagging you. I've seen it. She's tagging you in some of the videos, letting you know where to find them. So having that personal success coach and that extra layer of attention, that is also really key for more people to engage and consume your content. Number 5, I think we're on. It's the daily action step. So each day at the end of our lives, I'm asking you to take an action step, and then we make a post inside of the Facebook group. You can come and comment there, and then I'm in there responding to all of your comments. That's another way to keep engagement high, to keep people consuming, and also to get them into motion and into momentum. Because when you can get your audience in motion, someone who's high level, when they're in motion, they don't want to stop. They want to keep going. So when you make your offer and you invite people to join your program, the ones who are in motion, who realize I got to stay in motion to get to the next level, and the faster way to get there is with the support, those are the people who are going to say yes to you. But if you're not helping your people get in motion, then that would be one of the reasons why they're not saying yes to your invitation. Number 6, here's the other way to keep people engaged. Ask questions each day while you're going live. I've demonstrated that to you. Sometimes I pre-think of what those questions are going to be. Sometimes I do them on the fly, just depends on what pops into my mind. But that's a great way to keep your audience engaged. It is figure out what question I'm engaged. And then the last thing, which again, this is one that people don't really think about a lot. It is engaging with your audience in between launches. That is really, really key. Engaging with your audience between launches. Your launches, I promise you, are going to be 10 times more effective because you're engaging with your audience and you're building relationships and you're consistent with your same message, your same framework, and you're consistent with the way in which you're showing up in between your launches, because you don't want to have to launch and re-rev up that engagement and that energy from a place of like, my audience is dead all over again, because all you're doing there is you're just starting over all the time. So those are 6 or 7 ways to keep your audience really engaged during your launch. Before we dive into the action steps, let me know what your biggest takeaway was from today. What was your biggest takeaway? What is something that you can definitely see you can shift in your own business? Juanita, have you ever used other messengers like WhatsApp? I mean, you can for sure, but I really capitalize on the entire Facebook platform. So my philosophy is that if you're going to use a platform as a revenue generating platform, you want to master the whole entire platform, because the platform works the best when you're using all the elements of it. And intimacy really happens in Facebook, in groups, and in Messenger. But that doesn't mean you can't use WhatsApp. For sure, if you're training your audience to communicate with you in that way, you can do that. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think it's the internet. Not sure. Engage between launches. It's like keeping one of the cars up to par, even if you're not driving it much during a period of time. This belief that I have to talk down to a level rather than up. Strategy and mindset will make tactics work. Totally, Tamara. Awesome. Super cool. Super cool. Let's do your action steps for day 3, your action items. We will put a post inside the Facebook group for you to come back in and let us know what those are. If you haven't done day 1 or day 2, you can still do that. So what I want you to do today is brainstorm titles for your launch event. You do not have to get it right. You do not have to like finalize it today. I just want you to brainstorm and see what you can come up with. Number 2, go ahead and start thinking about 2 to 3 ways that you can really commit to keeping your audience engaged during your launches. And then I want you to start thinking about who can support you. So, you know, it doesn't matter where you're currently at right now. That's the other thing I really want to invite you to up level in your own mind. Whatever your next level is, whatever your next leap is in your business. So for you, is that getting to 6 figures? Is that getting to multiple 6 figures? Is that you getting to $1 million a year in your business? Is that you getting to 5 million a year in your business? You know what your next level is. The way that you are going to get there is by you starting to make decisions and for you to be thinking in the way that you at that level operates. So are you ready to go hire a bunch of people to support you? Maybe, maybe not. But if your mind is going to, I can't afford that, I can't do that, I don't know who can support me, then you getting to the next level in your business is going to be really challenging, because you're just going to keep creating the same thing that's going on right now in your business for you. So even if you're not going to go find support immediately, I want you thinking about, who will that support be for me? I want you to let your mind go there. Is it a person? Is it a resource? Is it a platform? Like, is it a program? Is it a mentor? Like who can support you with this process? So go ahead and start thinking about that. Those are your 3 action steps for today. I'm really excited to see what you all come up with, and I can give you feedback on that. Tonight is your special exclusive private Zoom call on how to scale your group coaching program without sacrificing client experience, client results, or your freedom. So come join me and Elizabeth tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time for that. We will send an email out with the proper Zoom link for you to come to it. It's not going to be streamed here inside of the Facebook group, because that is private for you all. And then tomorrow we're talking about maybe like the juiciest topic all week. I love the last 2 days. I love Thursday and Friday, because tomorrow we're going to talk about amplifying your sales, and you're going to start tomorrow mapping out between tomorrow and Friday what your launch event is actually going to look like. Like, what are these 9 days going to be? How do you position the 9 days? What do you cover for the 9 days? And we're actually going to go beyond that, because it is not just the 9 days. And I think I've made that really clear. There's a much bigger process at play here. It's not just the 9 days that you put all the pressure on. There's more on both sides of it that really make this process work exceptionally well. So I'm going to teach you that tomorrow. So make sure you tune back in. And if you need to catch any of the replays from day 1 or day 2, you can also do that. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate your time. I know that there are so many other places you can be right now, or if you're watching the replay, while you're watching the replay. I take that extremely seriously. So I appreciate you so much for being here. I appreciate you for engaging, for commenting, for chatting with me, for taking the time to do your action steps, for coming back into the Facebook group and putting your action step items into the comments section. It means a lot to me. And I know that this is just going to be such a phenomenal experience for you when you implement this in your own business. So I will see you inside of the Facebook group, and I will see you tonight at 7 o'clock for those of you who are going to attend live. And if not, I'll see you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to talk about amplifying your sales. I'll see you then. Bye.